What's going on, everybody? I'm going to show you how to change the oil in 2012 Focus SE, and I'm going to show you all the tools and luxury tools you can get if you're going to do this often. So here we go. Okay, so here's some of the tools here. Okay, all you need to do this job is some kind of jack, like the scissor jack that comes with the car, or pressure jack. Scissor jack is safer, but it takes longer to jack the car up. And one jack stand. That's all you need to really get your car up in the air, because I'm sure your e-brake is good. And some kind of tub to catch the oil, and an Allen key to get the bottom layer off. That's the minimum you need, alright, to do this. Now, for most of y'all, a decent jack and a jack stand will be good enough. But if some of y'all out there don't have a good e-brake for some reason, maybe someone drove your car without, putting the e-brake off, put some bricks behind the tire or get some wheel chocks, because when you jack the car up in the air, the e-brake's not going to be there to keep your car from rolling. So just if there's something wrong with your e-brake, that's what these chocks are for, just precaution. The oil in the filter, I use this Mobile 5000 here. Get it pretty cheap at Walmart. Works great. And then since I'm changing my own oil, I always put a good oil filter in, like K&N. I always use K&N. And what I like about their filters is they got the wrench off top. Most of your regular oil filters, you can, if you have enough arm strength and they're not on there too tight, you can use your hands and get the filter on and off. They also sell these clamps. It's like a circular clamp with a handle, and those will bust them free. I'll show you that. I think I have one in my truck. I'll pull one out and show you that too. But let me go on to some of the other stuff I got. The pan there is like $10 at Walmart, and this is just a drip tray. If you're worried about your driveway, you can get this for $10 and just have it as a luxury. This here is really cool. It's got a little hole in the side there so the oil will go in quickly. You unscrew that, oil drains into there, and then you dump from here. And you can actually dump back into the bottles, and you can drop those off at AutoZone or O'Reilly's, and they'll take up to 5 gallons a person. So there's that. If you are going to do this for a while, you could get some ramps like I did. They're not too expensive. These two ramps here, I think for both I paid $40. Pretty cool, right? Let me find that little circular handle, because I'm sure a lot of you might need that. I'm going to show you that tool also. So this is the tool I was talking about here. They're only a couple bucks. Let my camera focus. And these will pinch the filter and tighten it or loosen it as needed. If you can't do it with your arms, or you don't happen to have one of these wrench off ones, then you can use this. Will work perfect. But if you can wipe your old filter with a rag, you can break it free probably with your hands, most likely. So that's that. I'm going to show you how I change my oil. You don't need a bunch of this stuff I'm showing you. I'm just showing you these things that I've acquired over time, because I do this all the time, and sometimes it's just nice to have them. So I'm going to show you how to change the oil, and I'm going to, I guess I'll use my ramps, or I could use my jack and show you. I guess I'll use the jack, because more of y'all are going to have a jack than ramps. But I guess the way it goes in the air doesn't really matter. I'll use my ramps. What the hell? I'll use my ramps, and I'll point out how the jack works and everything, and get under there and show you how easy it is. Really, it's not that fancy to change your own oil, but all this stuff you can get and have a more pleasant time doing it. But here we go. Now, when you're going to start, first thing you want to do is pull that e-brake up. So make sure your e-brake's locked in. Okay. Oh, that one's good enough. And then if you're worried about your e-brake, for some reason if it's weak, put those wheel chocks in the back. And then after you get your wheel chocks in the back tires, you're going to come over here with your jack, your scissor jack or your pressure jack, and you're going to see this arrow here. And that's where you put your jack on this metal frame. Let's see if my camera will focus on that. That metal frame, turn the light on. Okay, yeah. Put your jack here as far back as possible or as far forward as possible. And make room for your jack stand also. Always use a jack stand. Always, okay? Unless you're using ramps, use a jack stand. Especially with a pressure jack, because those will come back down over time, alright? And you don't want to be under there when that starts coming down. So if you're using a scissor jack, like what came with the car, you'll be fine, probably even without a jack stand. But I always recommend a jack stand, okay? Better safe than sorry. You don't want to get crushed by your car. So I'm going to use my ramps, but I'm just telling you how to, do this with your jack also. So jack it up, get it just high enough where your jack stand fits under there with it, put it in there. If you got a pressure jack, bring it back down so they're equal, so they're both kind of holding it up, and then you can move on. And you only need to do one side, unless your car is lowered really extreme for some reason. Then you'll need to do both sides and make sure there's a jack stand under both ends. So anyways, I'm going to get my car on the ramps, and we're going to go ahead and get this oil change going. Okay, here's the car lifted up. The ramps are nice because they're real quick, just roll up on here, put it in park, rip your e-brake, you're done, and you're ready to get to work. But if you don't have the money or the parts, invested in the ramps, don't worry about it, just use your jack. Just make sure that you have a jack stand, because they are very cheap for jack stands, and it would be really tragic if you died changing your oil or something. It's just stupid. So right now your car should look something like this. If you got just one jack and a jack stand on one side, that's cool. You have enough room to slide under there and take care of business. But here's what the ramps are. My e-brake's good, so I don't even need the wheel chocks. I can just roll up on these ramps and get going. So I recommend changing your oil when the car's cold. That's just my preference, because I don't like hot oil getting on my hands and stuff. Come over here, take your oil lid off, and what that does is when we actually get down there and we're ready to drain the oil, there's not going to be any air being blocked from it just pouring out real quick. So that's what the purpose of that is for. So you got that going. Car's up in the air. Now when you get under here, these have a little plate. See that little plate? And to take that off, there's see these little Allen screws here? There's a couple of those spread throughout. So there's one over here to the side, one here, and just follow this, and one here, 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 and then there's, in the back, there's 2 or 3 back there. So we're gonna go get the Allen key and take these off and get this little cover out of the way. Also, now's the time to use your creeper if you're not comfortable, crawling on there, if you got gravel or something, or I don't know. I'm not going to use mine, but I just thought I'd throw it in here. Okay, to take that plate out from under there, you're going to need an Allen key, which will look something kind of like this. They come in different forms. Normally you'll see them on like a keychain looking thing or like a Swiss Army knife looking thing, and they have a whole bunch to choose from. I buy these because you never know where you're going to need one, and being able to put it on a socket is fantastic. Let me see if I can pick up the size here. Come on, camera. This is a T30. This is a Stanley, and this is nice to just, be able to pop that on there. So let's go take that plate out from underneath and get to work. See how easy that is? One when you go to put these back in, be gentle with them too, because those aren't like real thread, you know, it's like a kind of plastic they go back into. Anyways, I'm going to take all these screws out, and some of mine are even missing, so it's not a big deal. I got a couple, but I'm going to take them all out. I'll show you the ones in the back in a second when I get to them. Also, make sure you're only taking out the ones attached. Like, don't take that one out, obviously. Just this one that's holding in this plate. Because when you're going, you might just not be paying attention and taking out pointless screws, so just keep that in mind. Okay, I got all 5 out. There's 5 in the front, or you should have 5 if you got all of them still. Should be like 1 here, here, in the middle, and then 2 more on the ends. Got 5. Now it's ready to drop, but I got to get those back ones off. So I'm just gonna crawl back here. This is another reason I like the ramps, because it gives you more, you know, space up here, back here. Let's see, there's 3 back here. There's 1 there, 1 in the middle, and then 1 over here. So I'm gonna take those off, and this kind of slides. It's got like a little over here somewhere. It's like this part here. It slides over some metal. So I'm gonna unscrew those and slide it back and out, and get it out of the way. There's the plate. I'm still under the car, and I'm gonna show you that. So now I'm under here, and all I need to do is figure out the size of this bolt here on the oil pan, and then we can start draining that. And if you look here, is the filter, and since we got the wrench off one, we're going to do that. But I bet I can do this by hand if I wanted to, I'm sure. But definitely need 2 hands for it, because I like to keep mine pretty snug, not too crazy. So I'm going to figure out this size here, and I'll tell you what size socket that is in a minute, and hopefully you'll have the same one if you're working on the same car. Okay. If you got one of these tubs like I do, make sure you open this before you start draining oil into it, so it doesn't take forever to suck the oil in. It's kind of the same theory as, you know, the oil cap thing I showed you. Take that out before you start draining. Just kind of move that aside. Slide this under there. Now, if you're worried about dripping, you can always get that drip pan I showed you in the beginning. I mean, they're like 10 bucks, you know. Okay, for my car is a 15 millimeter. Okay. Yeah, 15 millimeter. 14 is too small. Yeah. So I recommend, you know, just have a socket set between 12 and 17 millimeters, and you should be fine. Do this way here. Take my that. I also recommend gloves at this part if you got them. Just broke it loose. Socket back. I like to keep the socket there because sometimes when you're turning it gets hard randomly, so just get it pretty loose. Okay. Bring the tub in. Tub kind of like that. And if you got a glove, it will help you out, especially if this is your first time. And if the car is hot, you're gonna get hot oil on you right now, so just be ready for that. Okay. There we go. So I'm gonna let this drain out. We'll be back when it starts trickling. Another good thing about the ramps, because both sides are, you know, leaning slanted, it helps get that oil out of there. Just a little heads up. Now it's just doing some little drips here, so we're good to go. So I'm going to put this back in and just spin it by hand. Okay. I'm going to get my tool and tighten that down a little bit more. Then we can worry about this next. Okay. Just make it snug. Don't go crazy on it. If you're the kind that goes crazy, just put your hand closer here so you have less leverage. That way you can't, muscle it too much. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to move on to the oil filter. Look at that. Didn't spill a drop yet. Okay, so I got my new filter here. Just like that. Now, when you're taking your old one off, you're going to need one of three tools. You're going to need to clean your old filter off and turn it as hard as you can with both hands, and hopefully you'll break it free like that. If not, you're going to need one of these. This isn't the right size for this, but this is just an example. It'll go something like that, and you'll be able to spin and bust it free. But that's for my big truck. But I'm not going to be using that. I'm going to be using this. I could use either a wrench or a 1-inch socket like this. That's what I'm going to do. But there's a couple different ways you can do this. This is the most common tool if it's too tight. But if your filter's not greasy and you're strong enough, you can do it by hand, no problem. So just a couple different methods there. Okay, so now you need to get this filter off. Make sure you got your oil tub ready, because this is the messiest part. Okay, it's breaking it loose. You can see the oil starting to come out of the rim there. This is when you want to hurry up because it's going to start draining down. Just like that. Just kind of let it do its thing. This is why I recommend gloves. Okay. Just like that. Just let that drain out. This is what that pan is good for on a windy day. But I use a big tub, so it's good. Now on this, I'm going to put it in my what my new filter came in, the box it came in. Just take that there. There. Keep it clean. And we'll prep the new one to come in there now. Now you're going to take your new filter here. You see how it's dry? Don't put a dry filter on, okay? I mean, the gasket there, it causes problems if you put it on dry. Now, normally they're pretty moist like that, and it should be fine, but just in case, oil, okay? One hand in this, and just get this dry gasket so it's not dry anymore. So, now that it's not dry anymore, you just come under here, just kind of start screwing this on gently. It should grab, no problem. Don't use too much force. Just let it do its thing. See that there? That's basically tight. I really don't even need to put a tool on it, but I always do just to be sure. And that's when you're going to need this thing in a smaller version, or just use your hands like I did, or get a wrench off one. I like to double tighten mine a little bit more, but I keep my hand close on the tool so I can't do too much damage, you know what I mean? Because the higher up, the less leverage you have. So now we just need to add some oil in and pull this tub out of here. Okay, so now we just need to throw some oil in. Let's get my oil here. Alright, if you got a funnel, that's great. If you don't, well, probably going to make a small mess. That's alright. Now I'm going to use two hands here. Well, yeah, I'm going to use two hands, so I'm going to stop recording, but I'm going to fill up with some oil here. I'm going to try not to spill. And you know what? I'm going to show you another trick too while I'm doing this. Grab yourself some old newspaper or paper and make a funnel, and it works just fine. One-time use, but most people have newspaper laying around. I wanted to show you this trick, so I grabbed some computer paper. But now I'm going to pour my oil in there. I can't do it with two hands. I mean one hand, so I'm going to have to pause this, pour my oil in. I just pour the whole gallon in, the whole 5 quarts. If you want to be exact, I think it's like 4.5 or some crap like that, but I just drop the whole thing in and I never have a problem. And I've been doing my own oil for years, never have issues, and my cars run great. So this part is just personal preference, so up to you. But I'm going to pour that oil in. Okay, my funnel worked great. It stopped all that oil. It's empty, as you can see. That's why it's on the paper there. But anyways, I'm going to put that up, put the lid on, start the car, and I'm going to show you how to clear the change oil light. Because I'm sure some of y'all have got that on right now, and nobody's going to want to tell you how to get that light to go away on a new car. But here we go. Okay, while the oil's good to go, everything's tight. Just run the car for a second. See, it says engine oil change due. Okay, just let it run for a second here and just get the oil throughout the engine. You just have the key all the way off, put your foot on the brake and the gas, turn it over, and then turn it over one more time, but don't start it. And you can get your service oil reset in progress, and just keep holding it. Reset complete, let off, start the car, let it idle and let it warm up. Okay, while your car's warming up, and check for leaks. That's why we didn't put the plate back on yet. No leaks, everything's good. I'm going to put the floor back on and drop the car off while you're getting under there. And this way. And this is the part that hooks onto the metal, so make sure that grabs on for extra support when you're putting it back. Also wanted to point out I was mistaken on that part. This is the part that goes over the metal here. There's one on both sides, so there's this one. And then right over here, another one, so there's two. So you just put those 3 bolts in gently and then scoot this back and make sure both of those little wings are over the metal, and then tighten the front ones, and you're done. Car off the ramps, it's done. Everything's good to go. If you had wheel chocks, just remember those are back there, and if you did a jack with a jack stand combo, just use your jack so it jacks up the car higher than the jack stand. Get your jack stand out of there, lower the jack, and you're good to go. But that's how you're going to change the oil in a 2012 Focus. And I hope this is helpful. I hope I showed you some tricks, some useful stuff. And that's basically it. For you guys who are wondering what to do with this oil, you can throw your filter away, keep this, and line it up with that, and pour your old oil back into this container, and take that to your automotive store, AutoZone or O'Reilly's, they'll take it from you and do it that way. But anyways, guys, please subscribe and all that stuff. I always enjoy that thoroughly, and hope you had a good, easy oil change. If you have a tire inflator, like an air compressor or one of those lighter jack ones in your garage, now's a good time to also make sure your tires are even all the way around, and just top it off, and you'll be good to go. So there you have it, guys. Take care.